What is up, Van Flippers, Goat Flippers, Lambgoat users? We have someone from way back in the past today on the podcast, but some of you may even know them as a quote-unquote new band since they just released their first material in 17 years. We have on the band today, or not on the band, we have on the show today, Roger and Rob from Love is Red. How are you guys doing today, man?
Yo, I'm good. But first off, it is called Vanflip. And back in the day, Lambgoat, you just read the comments under most band section. Didn't matter how cool they were. Fuck these bands, you know. Vanflip, shit band, no care ever. So I need you to give us your biggest fuck you to Love is Red, because I think that would be awesome. So hit us with it. Hit us with the hardest you can get.
You guys sucked at Hellfest when I was there.
He wasn't even there, so that's fine.
Yeah.
He didn't give a shit.
Let's get off my ass.
Yeah. No, but you guys weren't horrible when I saw you there. So.
Which Hellfest?
The last one, the one at the Red
the
Flag?
Jersey one.
Yeah.
That where Fate 13 or whatever like smashed light bulbs over people's heads and shit.
Yeah, the little riot, right? The riot. They had a little bad.
Did they set like mice loose or something on the stage?
I don't know. The whole thing was wild. I actually went back and watched it not that long ago, recently, within the last year or so. I watched that set, and it brought me back. A couple years. You know, I know Hate 56 has a couple of it because he has the videos from when they recorded at High Roller or Holy Roller Studios or something like that. They never, the DVD never came out, so he has all the footage, and I know he's periodically like piecing some of it together, and he's released a couple sets, but they're always from like the two main stages for the most part. And that Bad Luck one was from like the gym or the basketball area, and so it brought back so many memories of like how wild that venue was, because there was like a paintball, a BMX place, like a full on
lacrosse rink or something like that. There was
the main stages were like hockey and soccer fields or something like that. They had like fake soccer fields and hockey. Yeah. So God, that was a wild ass time. And like many years ago, as long ago as you were in a band.
So side story, we had our merch set up next to like Bury Your Dead at the time. And I was like, being Mr. like gossipy, I was like, oh, I heard they're going to do some crazy stuff, and I was like all stoked on hearing what they were going to do, but I didn't actually want to get involved in it. So I was just to say and I remember the Bury Your Dead, I think it was the bassist maybe. He was just like, it's all show. It's all bullshit. He's like, whatever, but it's fun to watch. And so he went in there as people were running out from their set. He comes out with blood on the side of his head and he's going, fuck. And I was like, oh, that wasn't going to be bad. he had gotten smashed with something, or I don't know, but he was not happy.
Yeah, I wonder, I should have asked Josh. We had Josh from Trustkill. I mean, he didn't really he was a part of Hellfest, but he didn't really, have a big say in it. But I wonder if that whole riot played into the cancellation of the next one, but.
I'm imagining so, but who knows?
Anyway.
Anyway,
Roger, Rob, why don't we go ahead and tell the boys what you guys do in the band or not in the band anymore?
So I play guitar or played guitar, and we were both original members, and I am the one that basically got really bored during the pandemic and wrote the new EP, because I honestly, if there was no pandemic, we would have just come back, played the songs from the albums, and that would have been it. This EP is literally a product of COVID-19. So that's why we're back with new music.
Yeah. I did vocals on the first record. And then during the pandemic, I was actually living in California for a little bit. And he called me he told me that he was writing for the new EP, and then there was talk about releasing The Hardest Fight on vinyl. And then we started talking about like, shit, you should put the new EP on vinyl. And then Roger said, you should do vocals on a song. So I did vocals on a song. And then we got Kinsman, who was the original bassist from Love is Red on the first couple releases. He played bass on the new one as well. And Yeah, so it was kind of a collection of old members and current, or I don't know if current members from the last record. It was just a mishmash of different members on this new EP.
Interesting. And so, like, yeah, let's get into like the early days, because, like, again, a lot of bands may not know that you guys took a 17-year long break in between records, like you're some kind of Tool band or whatnot. But Tool, the band, not like Tool. You are a Tool.
Harry Bean, take note of what he just said when you listen to this. Okay, go ahead.
Anyway, so yeah, you guys aren't really a new band. You guys have been around since, the early 2000s, and you guys, you said Hatebreed earlier off before we were recording, and you guys got linked up with Jamey Jasta, and you were released on Stillborn, his record label, earlier in your career. And so, yeah, you guys were, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys were from the Alabama, Nashville area, right? And now you guys live on the West Coast. So, like, how does that work out?
Yeah, so we started in Florence, Alabama, tiny ass town, which actually does have a music history, but I mean, not in our style of music, but it's surprisingly has music history there. And out of boredom, kind of like this pandemic, out of boredom, we were like, let's start a band, and that's how it basically got rolling. He and I have been in bands together for over 20 years. I don't know how long.
I think when we first started our first band, we were
97.
Like 97.
Yeah.
When we first started our first punk rock bands.
Yeah. Didn't know how to do hardcore at all, and I still don't, but yeah, we started some early hardcore bands. Love is Red, for whatever reason, caught on better than the other ones. But so we started in Florence. When he decided to leave the band, I moved to Nashville, and that's where a lot of the other members lived. Mm-hmm. And so then we became a Nashville band. Toured a lot. When we broke up, like every band eventually does, I ended up moving to Seattle in 2005. You were what year?
2007.
Yeah, so not too far after me. And then we just started bands again. I was in some other hardcore bands post that I was traveling with. Like Wait in Vain was like an off-spin of Trial, Sinking Ships, stuff like that. And then he and I started a doom metal band just because we were like, let's do something completely different from what we're...
And then I think Jeff moved to Richmond.
Jeff moved to Richmond, originally Chicago, then to Richmond. Hunter moved to Michigan, Ann Arbor. Adam, our other guitarist, moved to California, then moved back to Nashville. Drummer moved to Florida to play drums in Evergreen Terrace, moved back to Nashville.
Our original drummer, Dane, he moved to Florida.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody lives in Alabama. Well, Kinsman still lives in Alabama?
Kinsman still lives in Alabama.
So one person out of everybody still lives in Alabama.
Yeah.
Was Brad your old drummer?
No, Kyle Mims.
Okay,
so what happened was
was
Brad the original drummer at Evergreen Terrace?
No. Chris, I mean, because Evergreen Terrace is from where I am from. So they're a local band to me. That's why when you say that.
So when Chris left the band, Kyle, so I'll give a quick little history here. Love is Red was like, we had this full steam thing going. We're on Stillborn. They made a music video for us. The music video is fucking terrible. Don't ever watch it. So
linked in the description below.
In the description below, watch it and make fun of us even more. God awful. That's another story for another day. But anyway, had all this momentum behind us. And then, Adam basically was asked to leave the band for various reasons, but he won't be butthurt about it. But then when that happened, we didn't really have a full-time second guitarist. And then Hunter, after doing I think 2 months in a row of touring, was just like, he lived in Atlanta and he loved his buddies and wanted to basically party with his friends and not tour anymore. So he kind of bailed on that. And then Jeff, at the time, fell in love, was like moving to Chicago, and we're like, it was just me and Kyle. So we're like, well, what the fuck are we doing? I was like, I guess we could form people around us, but it feels kind of weird. And then literally as we were thinking about that and recording a new album, or going to record a new album, Evergreen Terrace hits up Kyle and is like, hey, we need a drummer because dude's gone from our band. And so he was just like, see ya. So I was just like, all right, band's done. It's just me, and I didn't feel like getting everybody formed around it again.
Yeah.
But almost within less than 6 months is when Tim from Trial hit me up and was like, hey, you want to go on tour with my band Wait in Vain and just move to Seattle? And I was like, sure.
I have nothing really going on.
Wolf Biker.
Yeah, Kyle played on Wolf Biker, man. There's that fucking song rules. I love that song.
Yeah, just my buddy who he helps with the podcast every now and then when we do the in-person ones, JP, he actually ordered, we both collect CDs, and he ordered me Wolf Biker and Almost Home this week. So he dropped them off this week.
Yeah, I think he did that one too, actually.
Yeah, I think Kyle's on those 2 records. Kyle owns 2 gyms? 1 gym?
1 gym.
Yeah, Kyle owns a gym in Nashville now.
Let this be on the record. I'm going to beat Kyle up when I get back to Nashville. He thinks he owns a gym and he's a badass. I'll kill him.
Nice. We'll film it. Put it on the YouTube or something like that.
Free beefs.
So that was kind of what one of my questions was like, what led to the breakup? Because you guys were, like you just said, you started out, played a couple years, got Jamey Jasta's attention, which I kind of want to get into about that. And then you seem to have like tours all the time, decent ones, playing like obviously like festivals like Hellfest and stuff like that. And then, you just kind of dropped off. So that kind of makes it elaborates a little bit that everyone just probably was, I'm assuming, like early 20s, and then this kind of had like life happened, and some of them probably weren't really made for the road,
It's strange. It was real strange because we had this momentum, and then within probably 2 months, it just all crashed down. But yeah, like you said, being in your early 20s, you have all like this ambitious ideas of what things are supposed to be like. And then reality just hits you in the face and is like, nah.
Because you remember like back in, I guess I want to say maybe 2002, or when I quit the band, I actually started just doing crew for them, like going out, like doing merch and stuff like that too. And that's when they started doing some bigger shows. And back then, I don't know if you remember, but some of the bands were actually starting to make a little bit of money.
Yeah.
And so it kind of became, I think people were starting to think this might be a viable job to have. We played with Poison the Well, and they showed up in that brand new ass van. I remember I was talking to their drummer, and I was like, "Yeah, man, this shit's paid for," or something. I was like, "Whoa!" Like it was, they had a little bit of money. I think it was Poison. It might have been 18 Visions. Anyway, some of those bands were making some actual cash, and I think everybody started thinking like, you know what? Maybe I just go on the road for 9 months a year, and then you realize that you don't fucking make any money, and there's no money in hardcore at all.
I have a story about that too that was very funny. It's right when we got signed to Stillborn. Rob might have heard this story, but oh God, we were playing in the Northeast, but I don't remember where. But it was with Hatebreed and Glassjaw, and it was basically when Hatebreed or Jamey, like he'd already heard us and was like thinking about it, but us playing the show with them was kind of like the icing on the cake. Like he wanted to see how we did live, and we were playing with them, opening for those 2 bands, and we're in the back, and we all like both of those bands, and Glassjaw especially had just kind of cut through to an even more mainstream crowd, and I was like, I think I was in the back with just a couple of dudes, and we were just like, oh man, this is kind of rad. Like Jamey's into it. I was like, playing with these bands is great. Like, and we were just doughy-eyed, young kids. And the Glassjaw dude was warming up a guitar, and he looked up at us, and he goes, yeah, it's real glamorous, huh? He goes, look at this room we're sitting in. He's like, do you know what kind of fucking car I drive when I go back home? And I'm making this part up, and he's like, a Dodge Stratus, and he's just like, right. I fucking sometimes deliver pizzas just to make money when I'm home. And we're like, oh, like he was just like, he was basically dashing our dreams. Cause at that time, we were probably like 22, 3, whatever it was. And we're like, yeah, this might be the breaking point for us. And then he was just like, no, he broke us. He basically was just like, this is bullshit.
Shit all over everything. Yeah. No, yeah. He definitely has an opinion on the entire music industry. Yeah, he's very opinionated. He hates the record label industry and all sorts of shit.
Yeah. Also, it was hilarious and humbling all at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it must have been, because what year is this?
Probably 2002 or 3.
Probably 3, yeah.
Yeah, so this is after the whole fucking Warner Brothers and Roadrunner kerfuffle, so they definitely had bad taste in their mouths. I have to admit, Glassjaw is one of my all-time favorite bands. So
they're great. Yeah. And I think he's the guy that was from Sons of Abraham, the guitarist.
Oh, really?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No?
There's two guys, or there's one guy from Sons, though, right?
Yes, you're correct. He was like a member within the time, but
but not in that period. Okay.
No, yeah, he might have been in that period, but he wasn't one. He's not one of it's Daryl and I want to say is it Justin Beck?
Pretty sure the dude that had the triple X's on his cabinet.
Yes, Sons of Abraham was sick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think he may, and you may be right too, but I may be confusing it with the same guy on Men, Women, and Children.
Let's have him call in so he can give me another.
Yeah, I'll get let me get them called up on my phone.
Get your Rolodex.
Yeah, no, I wish I would easily have one of those guys on the podcast. For them being my favorite band, but I'll wait for an in-person time because these pandemic ones are, they're good, but I'd rather be sitting with you guys on my couch like the other ones. So.
Oh yeah.
But so let's get into the Jamey Jasta Stillborn thing. Like, so how did you kind of get on his radar?
Oh, how did that happen? I think honestly, so he and I started, Love is Red. We had a demo ourselves. We got picked up by a smaller label out of Kansas City, put out that full length. And then when we decided to do, an EP split, that's when Hunter, the other vocalist, joined the band. And it was carryover music from the older style. And we kind of were slightly changing and getting a little heavier. Because in the early 2000s, it was very like Hopes Fall and like the emo-ish hardcore kind of stuff. And we were venturing a little bit away from that. And somebody actually asked me yesterday or today, they're like, like the name doesn't really match with like the sound of hardcore that you guys are doing. So they're like, what happened there? And we're like, honestly, we just had enough following from how our Love is Red sound was prior. And then, cause we talked about it, we're like, should we just change our name? Like we didn't need to have a tough guy name or anything, but like we've definitely gotten a little heavier. And, we just decided not to because people knew the name. And it was funny because we toured with like Donnybrook one time and they're like, oh dude, we thought we were playing with an emo band. Like when they met us for the first time.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, gotcha. But yeah, after that split, when Hunter first joined the band, we said, let's do a brand new demo and let's just shop it to motherfuckers everywhere, And so we did. There was somebody, I'm going to forget which label. There was one other label that was showing interest. I think it was like Eulogy or something like that, actually, speaking of Florida. Wait, is Eulogy even around anymore?
Yes, actually, I learned that Franz from Attila on our first podcast purchased the rights to, or he may own the record, the collection or something like that. But yeah, he is. I don't know if he owns the I don't know. He has the.
So they were interested, but I don't remember why not that we didn't say no. I don't remember, but somehow in the thousands of demos we tossed out there, Jamey got a hold of it. And I think maybe there was a good word put in because I think with Honor.
Yeah, I was about to say like Jack and them. I
think with Honor might have gotten into Stillborn right before us, and we had toured with them enough. And their band or some of the guys were in Pieces, or maybe it's just Jack was in Pieces. And so they knew us, and so they kind of just put in the good words. I'm almost certain that's how that happened.
Jack was in Pieces?
I think so.
I didn't know that.
Now I might be completely lying, but Jack from With Honor, us three, since we live in Seattle, started like a new hardcore band. We'll talk about that later.
Good call.
Exclusive interview with a band you've never heard of.
It's a twofer. It's a twofer.
Yeah, Jack from With Honor moved to Seattle a couple of years ago, and once again, out of sheer boredom, we kind of started a new hardcore band of 40-year-old dudes. So,
anyways.
Yeah, anyways. Did you find when you were, like, earlier in the days, like you said, the Donnybrook thing, how people thought, like, with your name being so like your music, did you find, like, it was hard to, like, either get people to come see you earlier or just to get into your music at all? Like, if you were opening up earlier on a show or anything?
I mean, when we first started with the name, like, no, not at all. I mean, it kind of fit right in the time.
Year
honestly.
2000s when we started, and like Hostball, Boy Sets Fire.
Yeah, we played with Hostball a bunch back then, being from the South as well. Mm-hmm. No, it worked. It worked out perfectly back then. It was kind of, at least, especially when I quit and things started morphing a little bit into more straight ahead hardcore. It was perfect fucking timing.
Yeah, I think like what I just said about the Dyingberg thing, it confused people later because when they heard The Hardest Fight, it was just like, oh, Love is Red? That's like, it sounded interesting. And there was like weird indie rock bands that like kind of from Nashville that kind of like, there's one band called Lovers Red. And so like, there's a lot of confusion. There is a freaking, no joke, a Christian youth conference that after 2005, when we broke up, somewhere in the 2006 or 7 area.
Yeah. Googling that, I came up.
When you Google trying to find us, that pops up first, and it's slightly irritating. But
we got to get your SEO back up. You know. What I mean?
We're getting that crowd to come listen to. Actually, when I started the Instagram, these kids would tag Love is Red, and they're like, "Can't wait for Love is Red." I'm like, "Who are these 14-year-old?"
Hey, don't even say anything. Just let it roll.
There you go.
But yeah, they were like, I was like, thanks for liking our, I would say something stupid, and then they'd be like, untag us.
Yeah,
real
never
quick,
mind.
so.
Nerds, later. I'm not doing that.
Later, nerds.
So how does it come about that you guys get invited to Furnace Fest? And does the new music happen prior or after finding out about Furnace Fest?
So Furnace Fest was around for just about four years, I think.
2000 to 2003.
Yeah. I mean, it was right in the prime of you guys' your tenure for sure. But like, was that part of the reason why you guys wanted to come back, or is that did that push you guys to come back? Because it is in your neighborhood or your old stop.
Yeah. So that was part of the thing. Like Hunter. Hunter being in bands too, Hunter always booked shows in Nashville and Atlanta and stuff. And he ended up booking a lot of the last year that they did Furnace Fest. He helped book a ton of those bands. So he was really close in with the organizers already. So I'm sure when the idea came back around, he was one of the first people they reached out to, maybe just to help. But then they got so many bands to do reunions or just to come back. They probably like, well, why not Love is Red, right?
So my memory is terrible, but did we play one with you? Because Hunter definitely was. I think we played 2003 with Hunter on vocals, but did we play like an early one with you?
Yeah, with 2002, and then yeah. So we did. Yeah, Love is Red's been at Furnace Fest, and it was. That part is easy, just being from Alabama at the time. So yeah, I think it was probably really no brainer at that point.
And it was one of our earlier bands, Chad, that was one of the promoters of Furnace Fest. We were like the first band on his label before he moved over and started working with Solid State. Mm-hmm. So Chad knew us, and back in the olden days, of course, that's why he threw us on Furnace Fest. But what he said is correct. Chad hit up Hunter directly, and he knew that Hunter booked a huge part of, because like those guys knew a lot of the Furnace Fest guys knew a lot of the like bands that they were already hyped on, but there were bands that were in the hardcore scene that they just didn't really a genre of hardcore that they didn't know about, and Hunter was fully immersed in that. And just in case anybody doesn't know, Hunter's the other vocals of Love is Red, but Hunter. Like this time actually threw in more bands that these guys didn't know about. Like, I don't think that there was ever an idea of asking like Turnstile or like some bands like that. Right. And Hunter really like, here's how you contact these guys, and like that kind of stuff. And so he put bugs in ears a lot. And so naturally they just came back to us, which to be honest, I'm surprised, but the EP came after that because we were told late 2019, but not to announce it until February of 2020 that we were going to be playing. So we knew. And then murmurings of the pandemic started happening at the end of February. And we're like, oh shit, I don't know if this is going to happen. But even though because basically like me being a nerd, I studied like the 1918 pandemic once I started hearing about this one. And I was like, oh dude, I think we're out of it for a year. But even knowing that, my brain's like, it can't last longer than a few months. Like I still was like in denial. And then, shit rolls around, and I got furloughed for a full month in April. And part of me was like, oh, this is great. I got plenty of free time on my hands. I hate work. And then immediately I got bored, like within a week. and you couldn't go to national parks because they closed them down because that's what everybody thought about doing at first. And so 2 thoughts enter my head. Start a new band. Oh, wait, Love is Red is supposed to play Furnace Fest. It's eventually going to happen. And instead of trudging out that old music that's just, people have heard a million times and not really having anything new to bring to the table, I've got a whole month on my hands to do absolutely nothing. Why not try to write a new EP?
Right. And it's weird you bring up the Doom-inspired music because out of the 2 records that you guys have available for streaming or for listening
on Spotify,
they are not vastly different, but there was definitely like a little bit of a Doom vibe on the new one, The Darkness is Waiting or whatnot. And
everybody's just bummed, man.
Are they really? Are they really?
And Hunter's not here to represent this part of it, but he wrote a lot of his lyrics. The hardest fight was about, hey, we're young, we're trying to figure out life. There's a lot of shit getting thrown at us. So the hardest fight is like, you got to keep, and then Darkness is Waiting. He basically told us privately, he was just like, dude, I have so many friends that have either OD'd, killed themselves, or just the pandemic itself killing people. He's like, everything is fucked. And he's like, the whole album is based on the depression of that happening. And then Rob contributed his own set of lyrics to kind of go along with that. And that's basically why it's called Darkness is Waiting. It's just, so the hardest fight was like, life's hard, keep fighting. Darkness is Waiting is like, yeah, it's still fucked up. 17 years later.
Nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. It's all the same. No, but I mean, I wasn't saying that to kind of get a dig on the album, but I was just saying that it is a different kind of approach to like traditional hardcore because it does have that kind of like Doom vibe to it. And it was just funny that you said that you had kind of like moonlighted in that sound with a couple other projects. So it's, it carried over, you know what I mean?
This guy writes the way he writes a lot of riffs, no matter what style of music that he's doing, he makes it so fucking hard on himself. He writes the most complicated shit, and he needs a good set of people around him to kind of pare him down a little bit. He makes it really hard on himself. So you should have heard some of the stuff before, but it was, I mean, when we moved out here, speaking of the other band we were in, I mean, we did Breg Nefa for 8 years, 10 years
technically. I mean, you could subtract 2 years of just not doing much, maybe 8 years, but we started in 2010 and basically fizzled out right around the pandemic time.
So you got that, you have that doing one sound in one band for almost 10 years, probably a little of that permeated into what he wrote for the new Love is Red shit.
So, yeah, I mean, like the first opening track is definitely, because I was writing post-metal and doom metal with Breg Nefa, a name that you can say, but if you try to spell it, it's gonna fuck. It's like Irish Gaelic. So we did that for a while because we were just like, let's do something different than hardcore. And funny enough, when we first started playing shows, we actually played with a few hardcore bands in Seattle and had friends in the hardcore scene. And then all of our friends were kind of like, what the fuck is this? Like, they were just like, what is this kind of shit? And so they slowly disappeared, and you start seeing more of the patched up black denim dread head dudes coming out to our shows, and a completely different vibe, which is fine. That's what we're like, that's what the style of music that we're playing. But people are always surprised when I write like this slow doomy stuff, and they're like, and you're straight edge? Like, how do you write this shit? Like, 'cause we do have one song that's 15 minutes long. But the Darkness is Waiting, the first opening track, it's definitely got that like vibe to it. But I also was channeling a little bit of Modern Life is War on that song, I think. But this new band that he and I started is more hardcore stuff. And I think that it goes a certain direction where I'm like, oh, this sounds like Hope Con or whatever it may be. And then Rob and Jack will be like, I can actually hear some tragedy in that. I was like, fuck. I wasn't going for that, but I like tragedy. So
yeah, that's a lot of the new Love is Red stuff goes into like a little bit different directions that he started writing. But I think at the core of it, if you listen to The Hardest Fight, you'll definitely on every single song still hear that same Love is Red sound. We always were super into shit like Shai Hulud, Sky Came Falling, Poison the Well, that really melodic type of stuff that was really, hyped up at the end of the 90s. And I think that's in the New Love Is Red EP, you still hear elements of that for sure.
One thing for me too that's very strange, because playing in a band with Tim from Trial, like he and I had a band called Wait in Vain, and people kept saying, "Why did you do Wait in Vain? You should have just done another Trial record." And Tim's like, "Yeah," he's like, "if we do like tour and stuff like that, he's like, it can't be a shit EP." Like, he's like, if we write something new, because some bands disappear for a while, they come out with something and you're like, why did they even do, this album was the pinnacle. Like, and so for fans that might like Love Is Red, the 10 of them out there, the pinnacle might have been The Hardest Fight. So why fuck that up with a new EP that's god awful? And I'm in the same way. I was like, bands have done that. I'm like, fuck, why did they do that? And so I remember sitting there thinking, if any of these riffs, if any of the guys in the bands are like, this is god awful, we're just trashing it. It's never gonna see the light of day. And so, like, I hadn't written like straight up hardcore in a while, and probably like 10 years. And when I started cranking these songs, I was like, well, shit, these actually sound like they could have been written the year after The Hardest Fight. Mm-hmm. So that kind of dates me and also works out well, because some of these bands have started kind of doing that sound again. Mm-hmm. So it happened to just be the right time, because it could have turned out way worse.
So were you listening to hardcore in that time frame in the last 17 years, or like once you kind of left that realm, you kind of, left that behind as well? Or
God, sadly, I'm one of those old assholes that I barely know any new bands, and I probably should not be that way. But there's definitely a cutoff, probably like 10 years ago, of what I keep up with. Rob is probably
what about Counterparts though?
I like Counterparts a lot.
Counterparts fucking rules. Man, I love that band.
But I mean, they started a long time ago. they're not a brand new band.
They may have been around before 2008
or something like that.
I was going to say before 2010.
I actually talked to the singer like during the pandemic, and I because when we were playing the same day on Furnace Fest, and he actually sent a private message to the Love Is Red Instagram. He's like, "Dude, if we're not playing the same day, I'm gonna kill myself." And I'm like, and I didn't know he liked our band, and I was like, sweet. I was like, funny you say that. Would you want to sing on the EP?
Band.
And he was just like, oh, cool. And then
I have nothing going on.
Rolling down to that, what happened was he's in Canada, and their resurgence that they had just recently was so bad that they locked down like super hardcore. And he's like, dude, we can't even, besides getting groceries, he's like, we can't do anything. He's like, I'd love to do it. He's like, but I can't do it until after May. And we were like, we found out with the schedule of getting this vinyl pressed that everything needed to be done early May so that we could actually have vinyl by September. So I told him, I was like, next time, next 17 years, we'll get you.
17 years later, yeah.
Yeah, now you'll have to, force yourself to write maybe a full length or another EP after everything is said and done. You can get them on there.
We'll definitely try. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it's tough for me to name any newer band, but I think actually Rob is better about keeping up with certain.
I still listen to hardcore all the time. I never got sick of the music. I got sick of going to shows and, having to duck, because, I'm 43 years old. I can't hang with like a bunch of 20-year-olds swinging and kicking and shit like that, or even be in the front and getting my head jumped on. It's just, that part's not for me, but I've always liked hardcore. I've always loved the music. So I never stopped listening to it.
Interesting. See, Roger, you did it wrong.
Such an idiot. Such an idiot.
So you're a straight edge kind of guy, and you like doom metal, and you were around from the early 2000s. I'm sure you're kind of, I mean, I don't know if you are tight or if you even know each other, but Mean Pete from Remembering Never / Ether Coven, yeah.
I just said something smart ass on one of his Facebook posts just yesterday, I think. So yeah, I love Mean Pete.
That's cool. Did you guys ever get to play together in your other your doom metal project when they were doing their thing?
No, but we played with
Remembering Never.
Remembering Never, and I think until the end.
Oh no, I'm saying you're right. Your Doom project played with Remembering Never.
No. Love is Red. Sorry.
Yeah. When our Doom project, we didn't get out of the
West Coast. Basically.
Yeah, we did a couple like small tours, but we never. Yeah, it was all kind of. We did like Utah, Nevada, California, like Pacific Northwest. So we never played. I didn't even know he had a Doom band, honestly.
Oh yeah.
What Pete's band is? What was the name of that again?
Ether Coven.
Oh yeah.
They have 2 albums out, I believe.
Did play with Remember Never, and actually.
I know you guys played with like everybody. You guys played with like everybody in the golden age of like what I call the scene. Like earlier you were naming bands like, oh yeah, we played with Evergreen Terrace was one. You played with Poison the Well. You played with this band, and all these and 18 Visions. I'm like, yeah, dude. I remember seeing flyers, and you guys were always on shows. I mean, you guys came through here obviously because you were in the Southeast. So.
What city are you in? I actually didn't know.
Jacksonville.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, it was really close to Dane. Oh, yeah.
So we played a Jacksonville show. We had a side project of Love's Red called X Trader X, and we played Jacksonville. Some club, I do not remember the name of it, but like there were these giant paintings of demon women on the walls. This is probably 2004, 5. Anyway, we played a show there, and I wish I could remember the bands we played with. But our other guitarist, Perry, surprisingly, I don't think he has this problem anymore, but he had a touch of the narcolepsy. And I had never seen him have that. He would, like, if you're sitting down watching TV, he'd be out. Or, he'd be like, dude, I'm tired. I sit down, he goes to sleep. We're playing the show in Jacksonville. And, I know, it was Punishment and Ringworm. We played with Punishment and Ringworm on that show.
Okay.
And so I'm playing, and there's kids at the front, and Perry's kind of leaning into them. I'm like, what the fuck is he doing? And I look over, dude was falling asleep. And like
dangerous.
He like lands into him, they push him up, and then he like snaps out of it and like starts playing again. And it was the weirdest shit I ever seen. But I was hoping you were at that show. You could be like, yeah, your weird ass guitarist like fell asleep on stage.
I was not, unfortunately, but that would have been key to get on record or something like that. See, that was at the time before like cell phones and like digital cameras were like so super prevalent.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get stuff on record back in those times,
The first time that we played, I'll never forget this. The first time that we played with Evergreen Terrace, I was super fucking stoked because they had already put out that first record of theirs, and I listened to that shit all the time. We played with them in Atlanta. And it was like at a VW hall or something like that. And so when they first start playing, everybody kind of like runs up to the front, and I'm standing kind of like on the edge where everybody starts swinging and kicking. And this fucking kid comes running into the middle of the pit, and all he's wearing is a neon green like thong. And he runs into the middle of the pit, takes it off, and he grabs the end of his dick, yanks it out, and has lighter fluid on the other hand, sprays his whole crotch with lighter fluid, and then produces a lighter from somewhere. Boom! Lights his whole fucking crotch on fire, and then proceeded to freak out that he was on fire. Like,
was he with the band?
Ran out the back out of the place and out. And that was the first time I ever saw Evergreen Terrace.
Was he with the band? Do you know if he was with the band?
Wait, what?
Do you know if he was with the band? Like if he came with the band and he just was like doing wild shit, Just
he's
because
like the dancer for a veil.
Well, because Evergreen would always set their drum set on fire. Like Chris would always put the drum set on fire. So maybe he was kind of like doing like merch or
maybe I had no idea, but I've never seen some shit like that at a hardcore show.
There was
You've never seen? I've seen a naked man at the hardcore show before.
You see him light his dick on fire?
No, I've never seen that. No. But I definitely have been at a VFW for sure and seen a naked man.
I mean, I light my dick on fire at completely random times, but never shows.
And not in public. Not in public, at least. You know what I mean?
It's a fun private thing.
What are some of your favorite bands that you toured with from back in that time frame? Because again, like that was that was like right before MTV really got their hands on most of the music and changed kind of the direction of like the scene. But like you guys were playing with some like real classic pillars back then.
Honor, probably.
With Honor is definitely a top one because fun guys, the music meshed with ours. So yeah, they were probably one of the top ones that and I think we did a couple of different, where it wasn't like a full US, but we did like small little East Coast stints with them, and then a full US, because we did a full US with Honor and Embrace Today, and that was a really good tour. They're probably one of my top ones from back in the day. We didn't tour with them, but we played a couple of shows with Stretch Armstrong. Mm-hmm. I remember one in particular in Pittsburgh. I think.
Yeah.
He was our chauffeur. He was our driver for that tour.
Yeah.
And that was a really fun show playing with Stretch.
We played at this place. I don't know if it's still around anymore. I have to ask my buddy Sean, but there's this place in Pittsburgh in downtown called Club Laga. And
that's what it was, right?
Yeah, it was like fucking 4 stories up. This building, and there was no parking, and Stretch was right in front of us. They were just blocking the street, like everybody throwing their equipment on the sidewalk, and we rolled it in and we saw that elevator, and we were like, fuck this, and we just carried it up the stairs, man. It was you carry like a fucking Ampeg 8 or 810, like those refrigerator based cabs up 4 story. Oh god!
Why was the elevator just so sketchy looking, or
it's one of those like pull the grate and it was like bouncing when they load equipment in. We're like, this thing's gonna snap.
Dude, it was scary looking. My buddy Sean, I have a good buddy Sean that lives in Pittsburgh. He told me, he's like, yeah, it's a good thing you didn't go in that elevator.
Yeah, I mean, because again, those cabs and equipment in general add a lot of weight that you don't really necessarily think about with your own.
Stretch Armstrong, those guys were cool. They had they were kind of older than all of us, and they had. It's kind of nice to pick some of those guys' brains because when you're just starting out, you kind of don't know what you're doing.
Right.
And they had been road dogs for a while. So yeah, Stretch Armstrong, those guys were awesome.
So sidebar, probably the wildest band I've ever toured with, which wasn't with Love Is Red. Love Is Red played with them, but Sinking Ships toured with Down to Nothing multiple times. He's heard plenty of stories from me. Those dudes are fucking wild, and they know it. I mean, there's nothing, like. The hotel story is one you love.
I don't. You might want to.
No, it's not that bad. Like, so we're in Arizona. I think it was Arizona, like near Flagstaff or something. And they're always doing some shit, putting shit-filled cups in a van so that you find it later. Whatever. They're just doing crazy ass shit, throwing fireworks in your face.
Cool tour pranks,
Yeah, good schoolboy pranks. And so like. We know that they do shit all the time. And so we show up to this hotel that will only take credit cards. And I think at the time, Danny, our singer, was the only one that had a credit card that he could basically put the hotel room. And he told the Down to Nothing dudes, do not do anything. This is all my credit cards. This is like, just for tonight, please. I know you can do whatever the fuck you want the rest of this tour. Just please not on my credit card. And they're like, oh, yeah, cool. So they get the room key. We're still in the office talking to the dude. Maybe 5 minutes went by. They had enough time to get in the room. We go over there, and Danny wants to go back just to be like, hey, remember, just don't fuck up the room. We open the door. The beds and everything have already been flipped over. Someone with soap put a pentagram on the mirror. And then the singer has his dick tucked, so you can't see anything. It's just smooth there, holding his hands like that, spitting water. And that's what we walked in on.
Nice. Well, hey, you know what? They had to eventually clean that up to sleep on all that stuff. So, joke's on you guys.
They probably didn't care.
No.
But yeah, like I think Sinking Ships did 3 tours with Down to Nothing and 1 in Japan. And God, it was nightmare and a terror to tour with them at the time, but then very funny stories to tell later.
Yeah, I mean, you have to always have your head on a swivel. You know what I mean? When you're with a band like that.
Yeah.
So how is it? Were you straight edge back then as well, or is that something recently? So how is it being straight edge with like bands that are wild and crazy that could also sometimes?
Well, Down to Nothing was straight edge. That's I think that was their outlet. Is just, but yeah, I've been straight edge. So I'm 42. I think I claimed when I was 17. I'm still straight edge. So at the point, it's just a way of life now. I don't really even. I'm not like. X everybody up. Like I'm too fucking old to care, but it's just like a way of life now to me. It's but yeah, I mean, I can't think of any bands that really pissed me off that were like, smashing beer balls or something like in a hotel room. Like, because I think also back then when we were straight edge, we were just like, let's go wild. We're, let's have fun on tour and like do whatever. So like that didn't bother me. And the older I got, I was just like trying to stay away from stuff and, have a little bit of quiet space. I mean, I'm an idiot, but like, there's now a limit to it once you pass your 40s that I can kind of handle.
Interesting.
But I'm too much for Rob, and so I probably drive him to drink.
So are you ever drinking you ever drinking on the tour with him and just kind of like bugging him?
Well,
our drummer is threatened to beat his ass.
You also may not know. You also may not know how.
Shout out to Bobby Humana, who's in our new hardcore band. He actually helped record the drums for the Darkness is Waiting EP. Bobby, we love your dumb ass.
Yeah, so we didn't when we started Love Is Red, it was definitely not a straight edge thing because I think only two of us at the time thought about straight edge. Like me and Dane and Kinsman weren't ever straight edge. But we also didn't go nuts either because we didn't have a whole lot of, we'd be like after some shows, if we stayed at someone's house or hotel, have some beers or whatever, that'd be about it. And we didn't do anything crazy, so it never really fucking mattered. But then when a lot of us quit, or like when the core members quit Love Is Red, and then the newer guys joined in, it became more, everybody at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, everybody at the time was straight edge.
Yeah.
But I still smoked cigarettes back then, even when I toured with you guys, it was never a big deal back then. Everybody was kind of straight edge and didn't really get too hyped up about it until I think right when The Hardest Fight came out. Hunter
beat your ass.
Hunter and some of you guys were. Didn't you guys even have like straight edge shirts at the time?
We had a couple of straight edge shirts. We took it in that direction just because I think we just wanted a straight edge band. Which, funny enough, like I said, we started a side project to have a straight edge band too. But me and Adam, as he said, were the original members that were straight edge. Then 3 brand new members came in around the Hardest Fight era, and we're already straight edge. So it's just like, we're a straight edge band now. But that's how people remember us. So actually, like people, like kids will talk some shit and not really know that we weren't a straight edge band before. And like, oh, this guy sold out. And we're like, we weren't a straight edge band before. And we just happened to turn into one.
Right.
It's just like, chill the fuck out.
And most of those guys aren't edge anymore anyways. So.
Yeah. I mean, so.
No, yeah, it is pretty rare that someone.
Me and Jeff are the only straight edge members currently.
Yeah, it's rare that someone. I used to have a joke, in my circle that people are straight edge till about 21, 22, and then they kind of start falling off slowly after that if you're in the scene because usually at bars
and fucking nerd like me who's 42 and
no, I mean it does happen by all means, but again like for me, I'm coming from the other way. Like I wasn't straight edge at all, and now I'm more into like the no thank you, I don't need to drink
sober
anymore.
Lifestyle.
Not technically sober, but yeah, not drinking.
Nice.
Not drinking. So, Rob, what was the original reason you decided to step away from the band? And then it's just weird because you stepped away, but then you also kind of, been in the background.
Yeah. There's a couple of reasons. The main reason is that I wanted to actually make some money. That was my thought at the time. Tight. Because the band actually started gaining some momentum, and it was like instead of going out for 3 nights. Hey, let's go out for a week. And then some bigger, slightly bigger offers started coming in and everybody's getting excited. And I don't know. I just wasn't feeling, I wanted to make some money. I didn't want to be like a punk rock kid for a career. And so I actually left where we grew up, started the band. I moved down to Birmingham where Furnace Fest is and tried to actually get a normal job, which quickly didn't work out. And so since we were all good friends anyway, that's why I just stayed on and helped crew with that because my idea didn't work. And also there was, I remember me and Dane had a little bit of tension back then, and I just wanted to still be friends with everybody. And the easiest way to do that was actually not be in the band anymore. And it worked out perfectly because we're all still friends. And Hunter was, when he joined right after I quit, like we said earlier, he was already booking tons of bands. And he just had all the connections, and it all just lined up with me quitting that the bigger tour started coming in. Yeah, that was that.
And I was like, if you don't claim Edge, you're out of this fucking band.
Meanwhile, he's fuck you. I'm gonna have a drink anyway. So
it was just as simple as that, and it worked out great.
That's cool. And so like there wasn't any regret necessarily from when you stepped away, even though like your big lofty dream of getting a Birmingham job didn't work out.
No, it was they, especially because they started touring so much so fast that even when I was driving and helped doing merch and stuff, even that got to be too much. I was like, no, I can't even do that, because instead of going out for, a week, it was, okay, now we're going out for a month. And I was like, and I had, around that time too, I just met Steph and I didn't want to go away for that long. So no regret at all. It was, and plus, I didn't live too far away from Roger and Dane at the time, so I still saw them quite a bit.
It was a month on, like towards the end of Love Is Red, it was a month on, month off. Like we were gone a lot.
Interesting. I can't believe you didn't want to crew for like pennies a day and eating crackers and sleeping in your bed for a month, man.
It was rough, man, because we didn't, when you're just starting out, like Roger said, we had a little indie label behind us, but we were still, granted in 2002, $100 took us a lot farther than it does now. Of course,
yeah, granted.
But still, it wasn't like we had per diems or anything. We still had to bring all our own money. Basically the money was for fucking gas, and that was it,
I remember, I was in my own band and we weren't even signed or anywhere near your level. And it was just like, if we can get gas money tonight, that'd be tight.
Funny enough, even when we were on Stillborn, I remember there was days that our per diem was maybe $10, maybe, that we got for the day to eat on. And a lot of times it was just $5. And so before the tour starts, we would just get a big box of ramen, stuff it under the seats. You go into the gas station, get your cup, throw the ramen in there, use the coffee water machine to heat up your ramen noodles. And that's how you ate 90% of the time. It was, terrible but hilarious all at the same time, because that's basically like what our meals were.
Yeah. Tour life, that's a whole nother thing, especially around
It's great.
But around that time frame, it was so different because not kids, but like people, even right after that, MapQuest and shit started kind of like coming into play, and so you could kind of like Google where something was. You couldn't even Google. You'd have to like MapQuest it. So you'd have to you'd have to do some other search engine. But
we'd print shit out, like,
of course, yeah.
We look it up and print it out, and I actually had a folder in our merch thing with directions to every place.
Of course, you have the hardcore kid that was just like, all right, so you're going to see this dirt mound. You're going to want to turn left at the dirt mound, and then there's going to be a guy in a poncho.
Yeah. It was just such a different time because, again, there wasn't any, like, TomTom wasn't even around, GPS, and, of course, your cell phone wasn't doing anything like that. But you would either, like you said, like, MapQuest it, print it out beforehand and have, like, all these directions, or you'd have, like, a one of those atlases. And then I was thinking about the other day because, like, you would always play some, like, little VF hall somewhere or whatnot, and, like, how in the hell did you figure out where the VF, the hall was when you even pulled into town? Because like the Atlas can only get you so far, and depending on which town you're going into, it might not have like a zoomed in, layout of the roads. So you have to like pull into Kinko's or some other place and like start asking people. But it was such a weird time to fucking tour then.
Yeah, we would stop and ask people a lot. We played this one show in Florida where we actually rolled up to the venue, and it was right by the beach, and we were all stoked. And like we walked up to the venue, there's no one there. There's a fucking piece of paper taped to the door. It said, "Hey, Love Is Red. The venue's been moved," and it had like a weird little treasure map to the new venue. And I was like, Jesus Christ! All right, so I guess we're going somewhere else.
Yeah, luckily you didn't go.
That show, I don't remember.
I remember that show because that's the one where I was so hungover. Like as soon as we got in play, I threw up outside everywhere.
That's something the rest of the band never had to deal with, Rob.
Yeah, man.
No, those are shitty times. I remember we were on tour and our drummer got hungover, and I wasn't against drinking, but he was just being a bummer on the entire day. So I got kind of like upset at him, and he tried to throw up the entire day, but he never made it happen. And so it just fucking was a bump on a log. And I think we were playing with Horse the Band in Miami or something like that. But it was a fun little night outside of him being fucking hungover all day. But anyway, let's wrap this up. So what are you guys looking mostly forward to? Would it be like coming back in full, or is it just Furnace Fest in general, or what's
the Nashville thing?
Yeah, so we've got Nashville shows, the pre-show, which there were 2 tours already happening, Terror and Comeback Kid with Misery Signals, and Drain and Dare were opening for Terror. And so Jeff was buddies with Mad from Richmond, and he originally was like, hey, let's get Hollywood. They played our reunion show. Let's get Mad and us and maybe one more band that we're just buddies with. And once again, I think it was Hunter that worked his magic. He knew how to chat with whoever from Terror and Comeback Kid. And that we're like, hey, why don't we just throw these 2 tours that are coming that direction anyway together with our pre-show for the release of the new EP? And they magically all said yes. And so then it became the Pre-Fest Fest, which then Furnace Fest was like, well, we might as well just make this an official pre-show that we are sponsoring. So then they turned it into a Furnace Fest pre-fest. So we're playing that. We're playing the fest, obviously. We've already gotten offers for, shit like in different cities, but it's just like we all live in different states. So it doesn't really make much sense for us to do that. Kyle is going to be playing drums on the show, but the thing is like Kyle, he's all about his business. Like he's got a kickboxing gym, and that's like most important to him. And so he's kind of like learning the songs, getting ready for these shows, and then that's pretty much it. Like my buddy Bobby that helped us with the Darkness is Waiting EP, he would love to like play, so let's say we got offered something in another fest down the road. More than likely, I'd probably just ask him or something to play because Kyle's just not going to have the time. But we had talked marginally. I know Rob didn't hear about this because this is mainly just like Hunter talking to me and Jeff, but we talked about there's a couple of fests in Europe that in 2022 are rolling back around. And I know some of the promoters there from just playing like with other bands over there. So I asked them, and funny enough, most of the 2020 roster has not dropped off for 2022. Anybody that would have been playing last year is actually going to be playing these Eurofest in 2022. So right now they're like, actually we're full up, but I'm going to be going to London in October, like basically right after we're playing. And I just jokingly asked one of my buddies that lives in London, I was like, set up a London show for us. And he's like, I might actually be able to do that. Give me a couple of weeks to figure shit out. They're coming back to shows too, like us, but they're handling a little different. He's like, I think October maybe we'll be back. But so they're looking into it. And funny enough, I just happened to be going over there. And I was like, I'll be over there if we can make it happen. Just have a one-off show like that, like in London, because I'm going to be there anyway. So, and like just play a quick show. So that may happen, but we are literally putting zero stress into it. Like if things don't happen, they don't happen. We knew the fest was going to happen. We knew we wanted to play a pre-show in Nashville as the hometown. And then the CP was just kind of the magic of being bored and not having anything to do. So it just kind of all, converged all together. So future plans for Love is Red, kind of just shrug of shoulders. Don't really know.
We'll leave it at meh.
Yeah, meh. But I think I would go crazy if I didn't have something to do musically. So that's why we started like this new hardcore band. So eventually we'll be posting shit for whenever we get music recorded and done for that.
What's the name of this band again, so we can?
Well, in case, hopefully they don't sue us, but we came up with the idea of witness marks, but there's some weird fucking like folk rock banjo hippie band from the East Coast that always listens to Lambgoat's podcast Vanflip, so they're gonna hear this.
Probably
unless they do like how that American Nightmare got sued by the other American Nightmare.
Right.
We're going to try to stick with that name, Witness Marks, but there is another band called that.
Yeah, don't be no punk bitch, Witness Marks, and we'll have to end this in the streets if you want to be,
that's right.
mouthy.
But they're called The Witness Marks.
Boom, there it is. Then it is. It's all good. We don't have to put the in the new band, and if they want to get mouthy, we can get hardcore with it.
We can show them.
This ain't no folk stuff out here, you know what I mean?
Right.
All right, guys. Well, Roger, Rob, I appreciate your time. I look forward to seeing you guys in Birmingham. We will be there as well, so that'll be tight. And yeah, thanks for, I guess giving your fan base a little something to look forward to, but not a lot to look forward to since there's nothing really going on in the future. But, you had the other band coming on, your other band getting together, so that's good. That's good. And yeah, a lot of the people that we talked about, we had on the podcast. So if you want to go check out Brendan's episode, that's a good one. That was a while ago. We did that one in my house, so that was actually a really cool one.
Counterparts one, yeah.
He's actually a really funny guy too, so it all worked out. But anyway, yeah, and get to writing music so you can do your song with him. That'd be good. Or maybe just like a split. Maybe that's something you guys could do. I don't know.
That's something we could do too. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was surprised that I wrote a new EP. So who the fuck knows what we'll do. But yeah, happy to do this. This was fun.
Yeah, just don't get in a Vanflip situation on the way to the Furnace Fest or the pre-show. You know what I mean?
Or in the comment section, maybe they want us to. Who knows?
Well, they definitely, and kudos to you for even bringing that up, because when we were talking about names for the podcast, I was like, Alex, there's only one fucking name. I was like, there's only one fucking name, and he was like, I don't necessarily know. And I was like, the reason why it would upset people or offend people is the reason why we should have it as the name, because that's like synonymous with the site.
I fucking loved it. In fact, I went back to read like old comments from some of the like early 2000s posts, and I was just like, so brutal. Yes, I love it. It was like hilarious, like how fucking mean people are.
It's just great. It's a different part of the internet and the comment section, and we did take them off, the anonymous comments, but actually I just got my new login for the new version of Lambgoat today. So by the time this comes out, it will already, I'm assuming the new layout will already be out, because this will come out August sometime. But anyway, yeah, so I got the new login. I got to start sprucing up the podcast area and all this other shit. But yeah, the comments will be coming back, and they're going to be moderated a little bit better, I believe, is the plan.
Let them go wild on us.
Yeah. But see, that's the thing. Like what I try to explain to people, like the comments and because I feel like Lambgoat is the band's like news outlet, right? Like you guys went to Lambgoat, and like a lot of other bands grew up going to Lambgoat, and so they're like the band's news spot. But like Loudwire and the other major outlets are all, for the casual fan, but they also cover different genres than we do. But we're trying to stick with it as much as we can to the traditional Lambgoat. So it does look, it's just like a mobile version of the website 20 years later. That's all. And then, we got some things in the works. It's going to be a good, fun time. So,
yeah.
But anyway, brothers, again, I appreciate it, and we'll see you in Birmingham.
All right, man. Thanks so much.